Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I am your host, Taylor Gonzalez, and today I am joined by a very, very special guest, you guys. This is so exciting. I cannot wait. I have William R. Perry here, who is an actor, who is a stunt performer. He was in Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's see, three, four, six. Yep, I got it right. Predator 2 and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which, if you guys know me, you know I am obsessed with Elvira. William, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much for doing this. This is crazy. Before we get into the questions, this morning, I think it was like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., I had an interview with Brett Wagner. And
Oh
at the end
yeah.
of the interview, he was like, "Oh, so like what other interviews do you have coming up?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have one with William R. Perry." And then I was about to start like explaining, who you are and what we were going to talk about. He's like, "I know him, we're friends." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's so cool." So he says,
And Lee
"Hello."
Waddell too. Lee
Yeah.
Waddell, Lee and I have been friends since we were little kids.
Oh, that is crazy. That's crazy. First of all, that you guys have known each other since you were kids, because then he goes on to become the original Ghostface, and you go on to do everything I just listed from Nightmare on Elm Street to Predator 2. That is insane. That you guys. How did you guys
Yeah.
meet? Did you go to school
Well,
together?
yeah, we went to school together, grew up. I think we met when we were 6 years old, 7 years old. And we just, became fast friends. And as we got towards the end of our high school years, we both decided we wanted to be in movies. And Lee wanted to do stunts and I wanted to do acting. And we were both, banging our heads, trying to do what we needed to do in order to make that happen. And then, as it turned out, there was a stunt that a friend of ours, a guy named Tony Caesar, was trying to get somebody to do. And he says, "I'm looking for a guy, 5'6", brown hair, brown eyes, baby face. Do you know anybody?" And Lee said, "Well, Bill, William Perry, he could do that." And he's like, "Oh, I know him." And so we talked, and he said, do you know how to do stuff?" And I was like, "Well, I was a skateboarder, martial artist, full contact karate, motorcycles." He's like, "Oh, well, that's all the stuff we need." He said, "You could work a lot more as a stuntman than you could as an actor because," and he was right, because my height, I'm a little guy, about 5'6". At the time I was about 120 pounds. And he said, "You have the figure of a 13-year-old boy." And he said that could really do, some good for you, because all the other stunt guys that are normally short are gymnasts. And so they got really
Oh.
big arms, and they're really, generally not really dimensions of a kid, or a, high school kid. And so this is coming back on the 80s when, slasher films, and we're always dicing up, high school kids. And so it was a good fit. And so I kind of decided, well, we'll still keep after the acting, but uh stunts is a pretty cool gig.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so Lee actually gave me my start
Wow.
by referring me to another guy. So it was kind of frustrating for him because I started working like crazy because I was just this niche, and he's same height and weight as everybody else. And so it was a little slower start for him. It was a pretty fast start for me, which I think a lot of stunt guys are like, "Yeah, doing everything I got to do in order to be a success." And this guy just has skinny arms. What the hell?
Oh gosh, that's
So
hilarious.
that's my backstory.
That is so cool. You guys grew up together, and then yeah, to go on to be Ghostface and to be Freddy. That's nuts. How did you get?
Yeah, it's when he first started, when I was working with Wes Craven myself on a few
Mhm.
films, and I became Wes's web developer.
Oh,
And
okay.
this was about the time, really around Scream 2, Scream 3, but
Mhm.
I had been, gotten acquainted with him around the time of Scream, and said, "You'll never get this made. This is the scariest, most graphic, gory thing. No one will ever make it. This is Chainsaw Massacre, but worse." And he's like, "No, it's gonna be fun." Like, it's not
Oh.
fun. But the way he cast it and the way he directed it, it is fun.
Mhm.
Sort of almost against all odds against the script. But yeah, so we had a lot of sort of intertwining of our careers over time, just because like I said, a lot of horror movies, and working with the same people. It's kind of a small community
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah, that's
Stunt guys
awesome.
are probably maybe 300 to 500 stunt guys in the whole business at the time, and most of those guys weren't working. There was a small, maybe 150 people that were working all the time doing everything, just kind of the way the industry ran.
Hmm. Wow. So is that how you got your start into being cast for Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, the the Nightmare on Elm Street was kind of funny at the time. Each one was its own film, and there wasn't like the same people working on them. So when I did Nightmare 3, I thought, oh boy, Nightmare film, nobody's ever going to remember this stuff. And then Nightmare 4 came along, and I was like, okay, different cast, different crew, different directors, different stunt coordinator. And then Nightmare 6 came along, and again, all different people. But it was just because the kids or the young adults that I was doubling all kind of had a similar look and a similar size. So it's people always say, well, how did you get involved in horror films? It's like that's what I got hired for. At the time, there wasn't a like you didn't say, well, yeah, I do horror films.
Mhm.
It was more just that was what was being made. I mean, I did, some of the Home Alone stuff, and
Oh,
I did
nice.
Star Trek and a bunch of other non-horror stuff.
Mhm.
And I always thought that nobody's ever going to remember any of these horror films 10 minutes from now. And here we are, 35 years later. I think today is actually the anniversary
What?
of Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Oh my God, I didn't even
Debuted.
realize. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it was 1987.
Oh my
God,
gosh.
oh my God, I'm so old. Oh, it's just sounds like a very long time ago. That was last century. You remember?
Oh
But
man.
yeah, so yeah, when we were doing those at the time, it was fun. I mean, and
Mhm.
Nightmare 3 was definitely the more interesting one to do because it was all practical special effects,
Mhm.
which is kind of something they kind of moved out of as they got, and it was also the biggest budget.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
The Nightmares had started to really make some money. And so I thought, let's put some real money behind one of these and see if that does better. And it did better, but they went back to making them less expensively again. I think Nightmare 1 was like $2 or $3 million. I mean, that's considered extraordinarily low budget even back then. And then I think the second one was 5 million, and then it
Mhm.
was 13 million for Nightmare 3. So we had some money, I've been, in 1985 dollars.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, and then they just said, you know what, these do well no matter how little we make them for. And sometimes it makes the directors work a little harder to be cool and creepy if you cut their budgets.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
they have to be more creative if they don't have
Mhm.
a lot.
Oh wow. So would you say that Nightmare 3 is your favorite of the franchise?
Yeah, it's the one that most people remember. And
Mhm.
for me, the use of the practical effects, I mean, that the scene that I was probably my best known one is with the wheelchair that
Mhm.
chases Will. Uh, and that was a wheelchair that weighed about 200 pounds, and it was pulled by a Volkswagen engine so that it
What?
could chase me. And if it
Oh,
hit me, it would have been very bad news.
yeah.
So
Oh.
that was very practical stunts. There was no special, anything. Run fast. Don't let it hit you.
Oh my
Avoid all the
gosh.
wires that are pulling it. And so, yeah, it was fun. And then when people tell me, their favorite, it's either Nightmare 1 or Nightmare 3, almost, 90 times out of
Yeah.
100. And it was creepy. There's some really good, creepy, scary stuff in there. The kid with the uh marionette sort of strings.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that was pretty. I remember watching that and being very disturbed by that. I was like, that's wrong, dude. That's scary. Uh, and so yeah, so when I went to see it, I remember thinking, yeah, that's a good scary movie, as scary movies go. Um, it wasn't it was a little more thought out, and I think the effects were cool because it looked pretty real,
Yeah.
you know.
I say all the time on my show, I anytime you can use practical effects, do it because it just makes it more immersive, it makes it more
Yeah.
real. Lately, I've been interviewing the entire cast and crew of the upcoming Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. And
Hmm.
they told me there's a scene in the trailer where there's a chainsaw coming through a car and it's on fire. And it was a real chainsaw on fire going through a real car. And I love that because if you do it in CGI, that's fine. But to
Yeah.
know that the fear is there and it's the heat of the flame, it's just so nice to be immersed in
Yeah.
the creativity.
As an actor, that's very true. I mean,
Mhm.
I was an actor before I was a stunt person, and I did some acting as well here and there. And when you have something that, sometimes just putting on the wardrobe is enough. But if you're doing something that's supposed to be scary
Mhm.
and you've got a Robert Englund, and he's got real knives on his hands and you're doing, something scary, it really helps you get to that place, in your mind
Mhm.
that this is really scary. I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, I could be an actor. And it's like, sometimes you got to do this thing 10 times. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to get to a place in your emotions that is very real in order for the audience to connect with you. And you may be, if you're doing CGI stuff, there's a green screen all around you, and they're telling they get a stick with a tennis ball on the end and go, "This is what you're looking at. That's Freddy," and you got to look at that tennis ball and act scared. And that's kind of a challenge. So it's kind of nice when you can have real people there and real uh stuff, where
Yeah.
it gives you something to look at that really you don't have to imagine it so much. And you can put yourself into that place where the actor's got to be in order to have that scary sensation. And I think, like I said, just for me, that was always fun. And also, it was just cool. I mean,
Mhm.
in Nightmare 3, there's a thing where they've got these little mouths on the girl's arm.
Oh
She's a
yeah.
drug addict, and they literally had little mouths, and there were little puppeteers, sitting off camera going, nom, 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 these little knobs,
Oh
and
my
they had little
God.
little triggers to make the little mouths do what they do.
Oh, that is
And
awesome.
it's fun to watch as a person on the set. You
Mhm.
look at it and you're like, oh, that's so cool. And everybody kind of gathers around. You all take a quick look at it and then you run back to your spot because it's just like I said, it's the magic that you wanted to be in movies to create.
Mhm.
You know, when I was growing up, I just wanted to be in movies. Nothing else mattered at all. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of stuff, you get there on set and there's, a 6 foot Freddy, snake, and then there's, fire and smoke and all the rest. And it's like, this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be involved just like this. And so, movies like that were a lot more fun because they were, that was the movie magic that you grew up wanting to be a part of.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that sounds ideal to me. I just love the practicality and
Yeah.
just
And it's
hearing even that.
creative. How do you,
Yeah.
somebody had to say, okay, well, we want these little mouths on the
Mhm.
arm. And somebody's like, hmm, what we could do, and they have to come up with a way with puppets and
Oh,
triggers
so
and
cool.
wires and
Yeah.
cables and everything. And they got to make it where it can still be on camera, but still off camera so that you can't see how it worked. So there really is some artistry and ingenuity and magic to that because somebody had to figure out a way to make it work. And I love working with creative people, and movies are just, all creative people for the most part. And when you get to talk to those special effects guys or the makeup guys that do all this stuff, it's just too much fun.
Well, while we're on the topic of Nightmare on Elm Street, is there something that would be in your nightmare? Is there something that you fear?
Hmm, that's a good one. It's funny. I just published my second book,
Mhm.
and it was based on a nightmare that I had.
Oh.
Something very, very frightening. The kind of stuff that scares me is stuff that's very real. uh Stuff where there is a like I'm not afraid of aliens,
Right.
of
Mhm.
coming out and getting me. But I find those movies very fun and scary,
Mhm.
but they're not the stuff my nightmares are made out of.
Mhm.
Stuff my nightmares are made out of are real things, somebody breaking into the house and you know trying to kill me or something,
Yeah.
which and the Freddy movies and a lot of the horror films that we do, um they play on that.
Mhm.
They know that when you're all grown up, you're not afraid of anything anymore, really. I mean, rationally speaking, are you really afraid of Freddy Krueger? Not really. I mean, he's a character in a movie, but the thing is, somebody as good as Wes Craven or some of these directors, they know what you're afraid of and they know how you deal with it. So when they make the movie, they make a way to make it so you can't deal with it and you're going to experience it in the theater. With Wes, Wes went into a lot of trouble to figure out what scares you and then find the exception to that rule. So you're like, yeah, I'm not, everybody has nightmares, but what if that nightmare could actually harm you?
Mm,
And what would that look like? And what are we afraid of? Well, we're afraid of claws.
hmm
Everybody's afraid of, some animal ripping them apart. Well, what if it was a man with a claw? Hmm. And when sometimes when somebody's very scary looking,
mm,
and Freddy's very scary looking because of the burns, but he wanted Freddy to have an expression. He didn't want him to be kind of like the Jasons or the Michael Myers. He
mm,
wanted him to actually be able to look you in the eye and have physical sensations and make expressions. And I think that's a big part of why Freddy is so scary and why he's lasted so long, because he's not emotionless. He's
mm.
enjoying this,
Yeah.
you know. And so for me, when I think about what's scary and the reason that is scary, it's because it's you've dealt with these fears as you grew up, and
Mm,
then somebody revisits them and says, "Nah, I'm going to make you unable to deal with them again. Put
mhm.
them in a movie, scare the living crap out of you." That's inventive. I like that.
Well, speaking of the claw, did you get to keep or did you sneak away with any of the actual gloves from the films?
No, I don't. I do have a glove,
Mhm.
and it's made by the guy that makes them for Robert Englund. He's
Okay.
a gentleman named Anders Ericsson,
Oh,
and
nice.
I found him online. And it turns out, um, when Robert Englund wants to have gloves to sign to give to people as gifts and that
Mm,
sort of stuff, he has Anders make them for him, and he sent one of each. And he's got six different versions or
mm,
seven different versions total. And so he made a big photo study of each and every one. And so he can say, this is a Nightmare 3 versus a 2 versus a 6 versus a
mm,
5. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, I want one. And I want one as screen, ready as it could be. And so he made me one for Nightmare 3. And when I do conventions and stuff, I let people wear it. I
Oh,
let
that's
them
so
wear it in the
cool.
pictures. Yeah. And they're like, is this a real one? It's like, well, it's not imaginary,
It's as
but
close as
no,
it gets.
it's not screen used.
Yeah.
Uh, those are pretty hard to come by. I do know a guy that's got one.
Mm,
I believe Tony Caesar, the guy that he played Freddy in the first one
mm.
when they did the fire burn up going down the stairs.
Okay.
So that was Tony.
Oh, that's cool.
And Tony's actually got a mask because they
Ooh.
had to make him into Freddy too. In fact, Tony's one of the few people that's been Ghostface and Freddy and the Thing
Oh my
and
gosh.
Swamp Thing. Yeah, he's been like, a whole bunch of different
That's
monsters.
incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, getting a real one is a
Mhm.
real task because that means somebody in the filming thing had to lose track of it. And they don't do that.
Yeah.
I I used to have a screen used scream mask that I got from Wes,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't know that it was worth a lot of money. So I sold it stupidly cheap.
Oh no.
Just yeah, for like $300.
Oh,
And I think they go for around 10 grand now.
dang.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Well,
It's okay.
I don't sell anything else
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because you never know. You really never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, I mean, this is one of the things where people just, facepalm. That scream mask sat out on my porch during Halloween. Nobody knew, it was from the film. I knew it was from the film because
Mhm.
Tony looked at it and he said, the eyes on this, somebody took the gauze out or the black fabric and put a much more see-through fabric. He said, I believe this was, if it wasn't actually screen used, it was made for production because you could see through the eyes better than you could. He said, we did that for the stunt team. And he said, where'd you get this? And I said, oh, I got it from Wes. And he's like, oh, well, yeah.
Wow.
So you forgot, and I was like, yeah, big deal.
Oh
I
my
didn't think it was a
gosh.
big deal.
Yeah.
Um, and then later, I think Henry Winkler just sold his for $25,000.
Jeez.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah. I'll just try to keep,
Just don't think about it.
yeah, try not to.
Yeah. So we'll move away from Nightmare.
Yes,
On that
moving
note,
away
we'll move
from
away
my
from
the
Nightmare on Elm
tragedy
Street.
of my poorness. Yeah.
Something else you got to work on was Predator 2. What was that like?
God, I got to tell you, that was the very favorite film I think I got to work. And it was the first time I got to see myself on camera for real, no makeup, no, I wasn't doubling anybody. They were looking for stuntmen that could do their own, they could actors that could do their own stunts or stuntmen that could act, whichever you want to think. And I didn't think I was going to get the part. They were looking for gang members. I'm this preppy little kid at the time. I go in my little, Lacoste shirt and sweater over my shoulders, and everybody else, these gargantuas that were just, that really looked like street toughs. And so that was really cool. And it was my first really super big budget film at the time. I think it was like $45 million.
Wow.
And Bill Paxton, Danny
Hmm.
Glover, Gary Busey, these were all, name actors. And so I just remember being so excited. And as we were walking into the room, I'll never forget this. I looked down on the ground, there's this plaque, and the plaque says, in 1928, I think it was, Wizard of Oz was filmed in this room.
Wow.
And you're like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? I mean, that room itself had
Yeah.
history,
Where was
you
that
know.
room?
It was just one of the was probably one of the biggest sound stages on 20th Century Fox lot.
Oh,
And they needed
wow.
that because they had all sorts of different sets. They had the subway over here, and then they
Mhm.
had the alien ship over there. And so they had all these different locations on the set. And it was, like I said, just one of those things where you walk in and, this was, again, everything I wanted to do. I
Mhm.
was finally getting a chance to actually see myself speak. And I remember just being super, super excited, very nervous. There's a story that I told on the internet some time back about Bill Paxton being very kind to me and telling me, just calm down, dude, relax. It's going to be the best day ever. Just
Oh.
best day ever. And you never get this day back. So don't ruin it by
Mm.
getting really nervous. Relax and enjoy yourself. This is what you were here to do. This is what you've wanted to
Oh.
do your whole career, right? I'm like, yeah. And he said, in Terminator was my first, his first film where he really got a chance to see himself speak. And he'd done some other stuff, but nothing that had the impact that that did in his career. And he was just very kind to me. He didn't
Oh.
have to do any of that. And I did relax. And I remember I saw an old coworker on the lot, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm in Predator." And he's like, "No way!" And it was just, like it was just everything. It was just, um, like I said, I got to see myself, 60 feet across on a big screen, at the theater, and I could recognize it was me, and all my high school friends were calling me, go, dude, I just saw you, man. You were in a movie. And it's like, yeah, I've been in a lot of movies, but this first time you've been able to recognize me. And it's just, yeah, whenever it's on TBS about every 15 minutes, I think if you
Mm.
turn on your TV, it's probably on right now.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see it, to look back on that because there's so many really deeply, you just, deep in the heart kind of happy memories from that time that every time I see it, and I know it's not an Oscar winner. At least they haven't called. Have they called? No, they haven't called.
You never
Um,
know.
you
Just like
never
the
know.
Scream mask, you never
They could go
know.
back and say, "Hey, I know it was a long time ago." But I look back on that and I just remember that. And when my kids look at it, they roll their eyes and go, "Oh God." It's like, hey, may you be so lucky to have, your dream job one day and
Mhm.
get to do something like that. It was, so yeah, all the fun you can have with your pants on, just too much fun.
That is so awesome. Speaking of Predator and the Predator franchise, have you had a chance to see Prey yet?
Yeah, and I
Oh my
don't
God.
understand the hate.
What?
I saw, yeah, there's a Predator a Facebook group I went on to the other day. We got 400,000 people on this group. And I
What?
posted a little something. And as I started looking through, people were talking about Prey sucking. And I thought,
No.
uh, I haven't seen all of them. And,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, like I never saw Predators, and I
Mm.
haven't seen Alien versus Predators. I'm
Mm.
just when you have a wife and kids, they won't watch the movies you want to watch. You have to
Yeah.
like wait till they go away
Mm.
for a day or so. But when I watched Prey, I was like, I mean, again, it's a genre film. It's a Predator movie. There's a formula to these things, but I thought the actors were good. I thought the plot was good. Um, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not expecting, War and Peace here. I'm expecting a Predator movie, and I thought it was really fun and yeah. So when I watched those, I liked Predator the original. Um Obviously I liked Predator 2 because it had this great subway scene.
Mm.
But I've as I go through them and watch them, yeah, I really enjoy them for what they're worth. I know some of them, sometimes they're a little convoluted. They're kind of, sometimes people are like, wait, this doesn't fit in the canon. Where does this go? How does this relate to all the other, films in the franchise? I worry less about that. I'm not really concerned with how one connects with the other, unless it's supposed to and it doesn't
Mhm.
do it well. But they usually get solid actors. Uh, it's fun. If you're looking for more than, entertainment out of these things, if you're looking for some great, you know, universal truth, probably not going to find it.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Prey. I had the opportunity to go see it. They had like a special screening when it came out. I guess it was like a year ago now, 2 years ago now,
Yeah.
in
Okay.
San Diego for Comic-Con. And I live in like the
Oh,
Pasadena area. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I drove from Pasadena to San
oh my
Diego,
gosh.
saw it because the main reason I did it was a streaming straight to Hulu movie. And this was the only, as far as I know, only screening of it in the
Oh,
theater. And I was
that's a
like,
good
I'm not
point.
going to miss it. So I drove 2.5 hours
Yeah.
there, saw it for 2 hours. And then
Yeah.
what was cool was the cast and crew was there. So they did a whole Q&A. And then I just drove home after.
Seeing a movie on the big screen. My wife and I just went to see a couple of movies. She really likes to try to get to see all the movies that are up for Oscars
Mhm,
before the broadcast. And there is something, even a really there's a movie we saw called A Perfect Day,
mhm,
which is a foreign film. And um, you probably could watch that on your TV and it would be fine. But almost any film that was shot, it's like when they record music. My son's a musician, and you've got these humongous recording decks and dozens of mics and all this stuff, and then somebody puts in a pair of crappy earpods
yeah.
to listen to, and you're like, how much trouble we went to
Uh,
make sure that the sound was pristine and everything
yeah.
was so good. It's the same way with movies. You do these epic things and
Mhm.
you've got these huge scenes and all this stuff, and then somebody watches it on their phone. And
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, that's I'm glad they're watching it. I'm glad they're enjoying it. But it seems like they may be missing something really cool by not having that sound.
Hmm.
When the predator does his clicks, or in the Lost Boys, there's vampires and there's all these different things. That was meant for the big screen.
Yeah.
They shot it in 70 millimeter or bigger because that's what they wanted.
Mhm.
And I think it tends to diminish some films. Maybe if you're watching it for the third or fourth time and you're just kind of reminding yourself of how much you enjoyed it, that's okay. But I think the first time for a good epic movie, yeah, if you can get it in the theater, something about that I just think really adds some magic to it. And the shared experience of being in the theater. I
Hmm.
mean, you were down in San Diego, and this was the first time anybody had seen it, you
Yeah.
know, and it was on the big screen. And uh, there's something about that, when a jump scare scares the crap out of
Hmm.
everybody in the room instead of just you on your
Yeah.
phone.
Hmm.
There's something about that. The audience reaction just makes it a better film,
Yeah, it does. There's
because
nothing
you're
like seeing
sharing it.
it, yeah, in the theater with as many people on the biggest screen. Last night, actually, I had the opportunity to go to an advanced screening of Dune Part 2 in
Mhm.
IMAX, and the
Yeah.
sound, the seats were vibrating, and just everyone cheering throughout and
Yeah.
gasping when something, I haven't read the books, but when something veered a little bit away from the books, people were on the edge of their seats, and it was just, there's nothing like it. And
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
feeling.
The shared experience is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I said, I get it. There's a lot of films, a lot of films just go straight to DVD.
Hmm.
A lot of films go straight to Netflix. I mean, and some big budget shows.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, to me, the worst part of COVID. Well,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, that's not true. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's insensitive. But the worst part of the recovery
Right.
of COVID is that a lot of things we haven't gone back to.
Mhm.
The local theater in my part of town here, they actually shut down, and we weren't sure they were coming back. A couple of the local theaters out here just never did come back. And it was like, no, no, I want my movie theater back.
Oh,
I don't need the reclining seats. I don't need all that. Just give me a
yeah.
chair.
Yeah.
I want to see a movie again. And I want to see a movie that scares the crap out of me, or I want to see a movie that's thrilling or scary or
Mhm.
whatever it is. And I just think, there's something, and sometimes even a bad movie's better
Oh yeah,
in a
Madam
theater.
Web.
The shared experience of watching a shitty movie
Yeah.
is just as good
That's
as
exactly how
watching a
Madam
great
Web
one.
was. Everyone was laughing the whole movie. It was great.
It happens.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll just continue like nothing, like nothing ever happened.
Nothing ever
Like I
happened.
don't have the free Zoom version. Yeah. All right. So while I have you, we have to talk about my favorite person, Elvira. What was it like working on Elvira, Mistress of the Dark?
That's another one of the big favorites. I got to work on that film for a little while, which was always fun. And Elvira's just awesome. She's everything you think she's going to be. She's funny. She's very kind, very sweet, very nice to everybody. Was no sense of, I mean, this was like her first real, like big film kind of thing, Warner Brothers and big budget and all that, good cast of people. And sometimes that can make, especially if the film is kind of riding on you,
Mm,
that can make things uncomfortable and tense because not because she's a bad person or anything, but because it's a lot, resting on her
mm.
shoulders. But she was never that way. She
Oh,
seemed very friendly. We were doing a particular stunt where we're supposed to be peeking in a window. We're trying to get a look at Elvira and take a picture of her while she's got her top off. And I'm hanging from this window, and the guy was supposed to catch me, and he doesn't. He dropped me. And I fall to the ground and I hit the windowsill with my ribs on the bottom floor.
oh,
And it hurt, but I crawl back up. We go for it again, and he drops me again. And now I'm really hurting. I'm
oh
really bruised, and
no.
I think I even had a crack in my rib. And I
Ugh.
climb back up, and Cassandra looks at me and she says, "Did he just drop you again?"
Oh
And
my
I said, "It's not
gosh.
his fault. It's they had rain falling on us.
Mm.
And I'm heavier than, I'm wet and heavy and all this stuff." And then she said, "No, no, we got to figure this out. He can't keep dropping you." And it's like, it's going to be fine. And she's like, "Let's find out." So she kind of got everybody to take a break, and they figured out a way of running a cable through the guy who's supposed to hold me.
Mm.
Cable goes through his shirt, out his sleeve, through my sleeve, down into into a harness, so he
Uh,
can't drop me anymore. And for the most part, when you're a stunt person, the bumps and bruises come with the territory. Um, and most of the time, most people don't care because
mm,
that's what you're there for. You're there to take the beating that the actor can't.
mm,
And it was nice of her, to take that time and be caring, be concerned for somebody on the set. And on the same show, it's funny. The only time I think I ever really ever broke anything on the show, we fall through the ceiling when we're trying to get Elvira out of jail.
mm.
And when we fell through the ceiling, there's about five of us or six of us, and we all fall through. And they put a false bottom on the ground. So there's basically boards, and under those boards are uh, little paper cups. And there's enough of them that when you land, all the paper cups smash out, the air goes out, and you have a fairly soft landing, except if you don't weigh more than 125 pounds.
Uh-oh.
So we and we land, and I just smashed
Mm-mm.
myself right in the face with my own knees.
Oh,
And I believe I broke my nose. I was bleeding like crazy. I never
oh my
really looked
gosh.
at, and I was like, "Oh, excuse me, everybody. I got to go get some dust out of my eye. I'm really, I was like, "Oh no, what have I
Oof.
done?" Um, but that was on that show. It was, I have to say, it was worth it.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say worth it, worth every minute.
yeah, and that was like I said, it was again special effects and
Mhm,
all sorts of fun stuff and a fun cast. I got to work with Ira Hayden again, who I was also doubled in Nightmare 3. So it's nice when you get to work with the same folks over and over here and there. Doesn't happen very often.
mhm.
But he was a very nice guy. We're still acquainted to this day, and I see him out at conventions and stuff.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, a lot of fun. Like I said, just because she's so fun, she
Uh,
just kept the mood light. There was never any sense of um, I don't know, grumpiness.
mm,
Working nights is usually really difficult, and we worked a lot of nights, and you're working under kind of, if they're raining on you, they're
mm.
literally putting cold sprinkler water on you. And so there's a lot of things that can make people grumpy in a situation like that, but not on that set. Everybody was having a good time.
That's
Elvira was
great.
clearly, Cassandra was clearly having a very good time from at least from what I saw. Maybe
Mm.
she was freaking out at other times when I didn't see, but she was always very kind to everybody around her. And the cast, I know Ira says he still emails her,
Oh,
frequently to this day because she became a friend.
yeah.
And I think and she's just so beautiful.
Mhm.
I got a thing for redheads. Oh, my wife's not watching this, right?
No,
Sorry,
no,
honey.
no. She's not.
Sorry, sorry, honey.
She turned it off
Um,
as soon as she heard how much the scream masks go for.
Probably true. Probably just a good point.
She's like, I'm
Uh,
out
but
of here.
yeah, just it's just so friendly, so just
Oh.
beautiful in every way. And like I said, it was really one of those things I look back on and go, yeah, that was a fun one. I mean, people say, you did horror films. I don't look at that film as being a horror film per
Mhm.
se. It was kind of fun horror at best. But it was, like I said, a great experience and wonderful people. And she was definitely one of those the kind of things when people say it's like, yeah, she broke my heart. But she does it to everybody.
I watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark every year on my birthday. It's like a tradition. So I look forward to June 6th every year and I gather all my friends and family and I'm like, we're watching it. I can quote it all day, all night. I love that movie. And actually, a couple weeks ago now, I had the director of her other movie, Elvira's Haunted Hills. I had
Mhm.
Sam Irvin on the show, and he said the exact same thing you did about how sweet she is and how genuine and kind and talented and funny.
Yeah.
And it's just so great to hear this because I only got a chance to meet her one time. It was at Monster Palooza in Pasadena. And she had a line around the building of people getting
Yeah.
their autographs and their pictures. And I was there as a reporter covering it for a newspaper. And I went up to her and I was like, I'm really sorry to bother you, but do you have time at any point today to do an interview? And she was very sweet about it. And she was like, I don't even have time to pee. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, no, don't
Yeah.
even worry. But she was so
Yeah.
sweet and she was apologetic. And I was like, no, don't even worry. I understand the demand to meet you. And so the fact that she even responded and was genuine and sweet about it. So the ultimate goal is to get her on this show. One day, I'm telling you right now, it's
Well,
gonna happen.
the Ira had reached out to me a couple of months, well, I guess probably about 6 months back, 8 months back. It was the 35th anniversary. I
Mhm.
think it was 35, somewhere on there.
I think it was.
And they wanted to do an anniversary showing and get the cast and crew together and do a down in Westwood.
Mhm.
They wanted to, put it up on the big screen again.
Mhm.
And I think things just didn't work out timing wise. Too many people couldn't do it. But I was like, oh, I would so love to do that again.
Yeah.
And kind of revisit those old places with all those old, friends. Everybody's old and saggy except her. How does that happen? But just it would, yeah, to see those people again, it just reminds you of what a good time you had a long time ago.
Yeah, I really hope there is some kind of, whether it's an anniversary or a birthday or some kind of screening of it just to celebrate it because it's
Yeah.
such a great film. And I honestly don't know the last time it was played on the big screen. So that would be
Yeah.
wonderful. I've never seen it in a theater, so that would
Yeah, I would
be.
imagine, here and there, even the local theater that my wife and I went to the other night, they're
Mm.
starting to show 80s movies. Just
Oh, wow.
just they do it like 10 o'clock at night when they
Mhm.
don't have to worry about making any money on any
Yeah.
movies. But I saw, there's a lot of movies kind of coming back, and that would be a good one, and there's so much I just call it spooky community right now.
Mhm.
It's everywhere, every weekend, 24/7, 365. And I think you could do that. You could do it like they do Rocky Horror or something like
Mhm.
that. Put it on a, midnight showing just to see how many people show up. And I
I'd be
think people would
there.
be surprised at how
Yeah.
many people would show because it's just, it's one of our films,
Mhm.
us as our community, and we treasure our little films and we'll go see them in mass if people will just put them out.
No, I 100% agree. Do you remember we're gonna move away from Elvira now, which is sad. I honestly could sit here and talk about Elvira and
I'll
Mistress.
call you
Yeah.
back after we're
Yeah,
done.
yeah, afterwards. Do you remember the very first horror film you ever saw?
God, that's a great question. Good stuff. I have to say, I think the first thing that freaked me out
Mhm.
as a watcher, there was a TV show uh back in the 60s. It was black and white called The Outer Limits. And
Oh, yeah, okay.
I couldn't tell you what episode it was, but it effed me up. I had nightmares about that stupid episode, and I couldn't tell you a thing about it now. But I think that's the first one I really remember as being scary. I remember watching Frankenstein,
Mhm.
the old one. I remember watching Dracula. I liked the old Christopher Reeve
Oh,
um,
okay.
Hammer films, just because he he wasn't just suave. He was evil, and but he always got the hot chicks. Something about that. Um, And I think those are the ones I really remember the most. I remember like because they weren't on until, middle of the night.
Mhm.
And I remember just, staying up really late if I was just couldn't sleep or whatever, 11 years old, turn on the TV, channel 13 at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there'd be like marathons of old Dracula movies and those sorts of things. Yeah, and I really liked them. They were very, again, formulaic. They all end the same way. They all begin the same way.
Mhm.
But sometimes they'd move them into the future, and sometimes they'd move them into the great past. And so he was the same guy, no
Mhm.
matter what. And I liked that. I liked that he was this character that didn't age,
Mhm.
that because vampires don't.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think those are the ones that really kind of connected with me at the time. Something kind of sexy about some guy that doesn't age and gets all the hot chicks.
Yeah. What about current horror stuff? Is there a current maybe series you're binging or movie that you've seen that you're
Hmm.
enjoying?
Let's see. Gosh, you get such good questions.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I wouldn't say, I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise, and I
Mhm.
know that they're coming out with Prometheus, which is another, you know, I haven't seen all of them. The first two were probably my favorite films of any kind,
Yeah,
to me.
incredible.
Just so well done.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not a big what I call torture porn watcher,
Oh
and I
yeah.
don't. No offense to those of you who enjoy,
Mhm.
watching people have their heads slowly cut off with,
Yeah.
a rusty hacksaw. They're too real. There's got to be some fantasy element to it, or it
Mhm.
just screws with me. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
horrible. Oh my God, that's so horrific. I can't watch this. Um, I love and they're not technically horror films either, but Zombieland and
Oh
Zombie
yeah.
2,
Those are fun.
love those. They're fun, but they're still scary enough. I mean, I was in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and it was another zombie movie, and I used to think there was a movie called Zombie. Fulci was the director, and it was
Mhm.
so graphic. And I remember seeing it when I was about 17, and I walked out of the theater. I
Oh,
couldn't take
no.
too intense. So I don't mind zombies as long as they're fun.
Yeah.
And Zombieland has that. And like I said, I could watch Zombieland 10 times in a row, just
Oh,
over and
yeah. That
over.
that movie is so great.
Just good, and like I said, and scary enough,
Mhm.
but also clever. I like a little comedy with my horror.
You
So
know,
yeah, other than that, yeah, I can't think of any one franchise. So much lately has been Terrifier and
mhm.
stuff that's just a little too graphic for my tastes. Just yeah, can't go to dinner after that one.
Oh no. If you enjoy Zombieland, I would highly recommend the new Lisa Frankenstein that came out if
I
you
have
haven't
not
seen
seen
that
that,
one.
but I am looking
All right.
forward to. My wife's kind of like, not for me. I'm like,
It's
hold
good.
on,
It's good.
I'll take my daughter. We'll go.
Yeah, yeah. I think you guys will enjoy that one. So another question, this is my favorite question. I just thought of it like a couple days ago. I asked the director of the upcoming horror film Cinderella's Curse, um,
Mhm.
do you have a favorite Halloween costume that you've worn?
Ooh, that's a good one. Favorite Halloween costume. The thing I used to do, this is just because I'm an asshole. It's just true. What I used to do when I had my own place, when I first moved out, I had my own place, I would dress as a poorly made dummy. And I would sit on my porch, you know, kind of, like tweaked, and I'd have a full head mask on, and you could see the paper sticking out of the sleeves, and it looked like a dummy. And then I, be in some weird position that didn't look comfortable, and people would come up and they're like, "We should light the dummy on fire," we should steal the head off the dummy. And I go, "Boo," and just watch the candy fly. Just watch the little bastards who were going to light me on fire. Just watch them run and collect up all the candy off my porch. Later. I liked, I liked, I liked the idea of a scary Halloween. My neighbors in this part of town go out of control. There's a guy down the street from me had 300 plus zombies built into the
Wow.
woodwork of his house. Rooms in his front porch that were like he cleaned out his living room and made it into like an operating room where some crazy doctor was hacking somebody in little pieces. Just that to me is supposed to be scary.
Mhm.
Please let it be scary. So for me, if I'm going to do a Halloween costume, I really want it to be like I did I like the makeup
Mhm.
stuff. I like prosthetics.
Oh yeah.
That was always my favorite part about doing a zombie movie was you got to be in the chair for an hour or two and somebody make you look crazy. So I really think, yeah, for me, I like the prosthetics. I like a real thing. Just throwing a mask on isn't enough for me. I
Mhm.
really want it to be an involved. It should take hours, and
Yeah.
it should be so realistic. People go, "How the hell did you do that? Oh my God, that's so gross."
Oh,
You know,
that's cool.
that's what I like.
Yeah. No,
So
I
yeah,
love
I'd say
that.
anything super graphic
Mhm.
that took me for hours and took art, art skills to do.
Oh yeah, that's great because yeah, if you think about it, it's just one night a year. You have to go all out. It's like
Yeah.
you got to.
Yeah, and to me, when people say, I don't want to scare little kids, I had little kids and I get
Mhm.
it. I don't do that to little kids.
Yeah.
I do it to the probably 17-year-old teenager who
Mhm.
shouldn't be trick-or-treating anymore. I like scaring I'd say the 10 to 15 is my sweet spot right there where they think they've got their shit handled and then you
Uh-huh.
scare the crap
And
out of
then they
them.
don't.
Yeah, and then you don't. You're like, you'll remember that one.
Oh
Girl
man.
Scouts don't even come to my house after that.
Oh, that's great. So you mentioned you have a new book that is out. Do you mind telling me a little bit about it?
Yeah, I've got actually two books now. They're a year apart. One picks up exactly a year where the other one left off. The new one is called Out of His Mind. And these are very short books. They're about an hour each to read. There's also audiobooks for them. And they're based on a nightmare that I had a couple of years ago. Woke up in the morning and it played out like a movie from beginning to end. And I told my wife a little bit about it. My wife's a psychologist, and she's like, don't tell me anymore. I'm like, really? She's like, "Well, that's disturbing and scary, and I don't like it." Like, oh, sorry. It really was very disturbing to her. And now that it's out and
Mhm.
people have read it, they won't eat with me anymore. People
Oh
just
no.
they're like, "I thought you were funny. You seem funny. You seem fun, but you're not funny. Your book's disturbing." My brother said, "You need serious help."
Oh
And I
no.
love that. A guy that read it the other day said to me something about how I had to stop because I was choked up. I was really sad for him. And that's great. That's exactly the way it
Uh-huh.
felt when I wrote
Mhm.
it and when I put the time into it. It's not as much gory as it is disturbing and sad.
Mhm.
And the second book, the first one's called By His Hand, and the second one's called Out of His Mind. And the people had asked me after the first book, so what did it?
Mhm.
Why is this guy this way? I said, what do you think? They're like, I don't care what I think. I want to know what you think. You wrote it. Why? Why did he do this? I said, I'm not going to tell you.
Mhm.
Like, because you don't know? It's like, no, I know, but I don't want you to know. I don't want to ruin it.
Mhm.
You know, like, but I'm disturbed by this. I'm like, well, welcome to the horror genre. And they said, is book two going to tell me anything? I said, oh, yeah, yeah. Book two totally explains a lot. They said, so it will tell me definitively what happened. I'm
Oh, that's
like,
great.
I don't want to, and to me, there's something really horrible about knowing where this is going.
Mm.
I want to read a book that scares the crap out of me because I don't know where it's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I read audiobooks for a publisher in England, and they're almost exclusively horror books. And I love reading horror,
Mhm.
and I love that I don't know what's going to happen. There's almost any kind of book, really. You can kind of get a sense of where things are going. And I don't want an ending that I saw coming.
Yeah.
And it just kills me. It's like, come on, be original, be cool, be smart, be
Mhm.
clever, be whatever. And when people have read mine, they're like, that is not what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Good.
There's nothing worse than being predictable. So,
Yeah, and that's one of the things I kind of hate about the movie industry anymore these days is
mhm.
everything's a remake, everything's a reboot, everything's a 80s TV show they're going to make into a film. There's plenty of original ideas out there.
Mhm.
But the people are getting so desperate to make money on a film that they revamp a franchise just so they know that they're going to have a built-in audience.
Yeah.
And I've been talked to by a handful of people that were saying, would I turn this into a screenplay, which I'm doing? And I really hope it gets out there because it'll scare the piss out of people. It
Oh,
is
that'd be
so
fun.
not what anybody is expecting that as much as anything, I just want to know that people saw it and went, dude, that freaked me out. Awesome. That's what we're supposed to do. Movies are supposed to affect you in some
Mhm.
way. And if all it is I mean they made a movie The Fall Guy. All these different 80s TV shows.
Mhm.
And I get that they're going to update them and stuff, but the idea isn't original. I want an original idea. And
Mhm.
I think, fortunately for me, at least, when this nightmare came about, it was very original, not like anything I'd seen.
Yeah.
And so I hope as people read the books that they go, well, he was right about one thing. I didn't see that shit coming. That was very, very intense. I really like the idea that you follow these characters. Somebody said to me, the thing that made me choke up was that I cared so much about the people.
Oh wow.
And I think that's important. Why would it
Mhm.
the thing that Wes Craven told me one time, I was Wes Craven's web developer for a while. And one of the things he told me is um that he didn't like some of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise pieces because it just became he made that movie because he wanted to do something different. And then what they did was they reproduced it, cookie cutter style to some extent. I mean, some of them are pretty good. But he said after a while, you know what's going to happen. And so when Scream came about, he was like, wow, Val, this is awesome because it takes all the stuff you know about horror movies
Mhm.
and flips it and says, you don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, these are self-aware characters. They know that, this is just like in a horror movie.
Mhm.
And so that was really clever, super, super smart. And that's what he liked about it. He didn't want to do another horror film that was just a new and creative ways to dissect teenagers,
Mhm.
you know. And I think I agree with that. I really want somebody to give me something I haven't seen before. I don't want to see a formula film that's so predictable that I kind of it's like, yeah, I could leave 10 minutes early. I know where this is
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Nobody does. I don't think anybody really does,
Right.
you know.
No, that's true. So you have your books and I know you have some upcoming appearances. Where would
Yeah.
be a good place for people to follow you to find out what signings you have and where they can get your books?
I am most active on Instagram. My handle on there is Webs Craven, like Wes Craven, but with a B, because I was his web developer. When I came up with the name, I didn't know I was going to be doing conventions and stuff. So I would have stayed with something else. But I've got a fair amount of number of followers on there. And I've got a book signing this weekend. I've got conventions filling up the fall already. Really excited about that. I love doing conventions because it's people that are like my homies, they just want to sit and talk movies.
Yeah.
They just want to sit and talk horror. They just want to find out how we did that. And they're so interested in something that my kids are so bored with.
Oh no.
It's been a long time since I did those films and it is fun to reminisce and go back and tell them some nugget
Yeah.
about how the movie was made that they
I
didn't
love
know.
it.
Because
Yeah.
then they watch the movie again. I talked to the guy that did that
Hmm.
scene, talked to me, and he told me how they did this thing. And watch, you can see. And it increases the enjoyment for the films again.
It does.
It
It
gives
really
them a little
does.
something extra. So I really like doing those. Other than that, I'm on Facebook, but I don't spend as much time on there as I do the other places. Instagram's kind of my biggie. And yeah, like I said, I post stuff. I hope it's not obnoxious. I've got a lot of stuff happening, so I want to let people know because
Yeah.
somebody will say, "Hey, when are you going to be back east?" It's like, "Oh, I'll be in Maryland." And people, all you do is post about your appearances. That's how people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
gotta I gotta tell them where I'm gonna be. But I
yeah.
try to keep it interesting. There are times where I'll just post stuff just for fun,
Mhm.
just a what would I call uh we had this story thing we were doing called That's the Way I Remember It. And it was, hey, I don't remember if this is exactly accurate, but it's the way I remember it. It was a long time ago. And so I get other actors and other stunt performers and stuff and say, hey, tell me your favorite story about, working on whatever film. And then they'll kind of reminisce and they'll say, yeah, that's, it's based on a true story is the way we call it. Because, somebody gets coming to me and say, that's not true. It's like, really? Huh, I was there. That's the way
Mhm.
I remember it.
Yeah.
If
Oh, that's
I'm
great.
wrong, if I'm wrong, my memory is bad, but my memories are happy.
I will make sure to put a link to your Instagram and also a link to purchase your books in the description of this video so people can check it out. Do you
I
happen to
appreciate it.
know, speaking of upcoming appearances, if you will be, I forgot the name of it, the one that will be in Palm Springs in like April?
I don't have anything booked in California
Okay.
for the moment. I'm hoping to get into there's one coming up in September here. I can't say the name because he'll go, dude, I didn't say you were going. Um, but there's a couple here in LA that are good that I'd like to get into.
Mhm.
Most everything I've got for some reason now, I'm doing a lot in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
I'll be doing my third show in Ohio in August, but I've also doing a thing called book reads in Maryland and another one in Alabama I just booked. But yeah, I'd love to get out there and do more. So if you're out there and you want to
Hmm.
see me, call your local promoter. Say get
Yeah.
booked.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, William, for joining me. This has
Oh, my
been so
pleasure.
much fun, and I am so appreciative of this opportunity. I
Yeah, me too.
really, really
And
love this.
when you talk to Lee Waddell, I don't know if you have you talked to Lee yet?
Oh, I emailed him, and I know he's in the middle of remodeling his studio, I
Oh,
think.
that's right. He's got his studio.
So I
If you
got to get
ever
on him.
do, I'm going to give you all sorts of dirt, really embarrassing things
Please
to ask him
do.
about, horrible things that he'll be aghast that you know about.
Please do. Honestly, please do. Like email me because Ghostface is like iconic, and to interview the first Ghostface is just a dream of mine. So I know he's remodeling, but as soon as the
There's
minute
another
that
guy,
remodeling is
you
done.
should talk to Alan Robinson. Alan was also in Scream.
Mm,
He was Stu's double, but in Scream 2, he
mm.
was the first kill. He's the one who kills Jada and Omar.
Oh,
And
okay.
good guy, good guy. He's also just started doing shows too, and loves. I mean, he's still doing movies. He was Tom Hanks's double for many years,
Oh,
and just
wow.
everything. The guy's got hundreds and hundreds of films. But yeah, when you talk about Ghostface,
Hmm.
there's been actually a number of ghost faces.
Hmm.
But Lee, yeah, Lee was the first. That's a when he killed Drew, who knew that would be like the iconic horror film moment of the next 30 years?
Ever. Yeah, it's
I mean,
crazy.
just whenever I watched, I'm like, you lucky bastard, you had no clue, you had no clue, that this is going to be such a big deal. And like I said, it's not that I'm jealous of him; it's that I want to kill him.
Well, yeah, send me all the dirt on Lee Waddell because I need it for when I do my interview with him. But
And I'll
William,
throw Alan your way too. I think
oh,
you'd
that'd be
enjoy
great.
talking to
Yeah,
Alan.
yeah. Send,
He's another
honestly, send everyone my
another
way.
really good ghost face.
All right, that'd be awesome. Any ghost face, I'm down for.
All
Thank you
ghost
so
face all the
much
time.
for
My
this,
pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
and I hope you have a good rest of your day. And hopefully, we can meet in person soon and hang out with Brett. That'd be fun. We're gonna probably get
Yeah.
tacos soon, so
Yeah, yeah, he's all about tacos.
yeah.
But I mean, if you're, I don't know if you're still recording, but I'm going to be in Burbank this Saturday. So if you're anywhere, I know you said you're
Oh.
like Pasadena.
Hmm.
There's a place called Dark Delicacies. It's
Oh,
a
right. Yeah, I saw
horror
you post about
bookstore.
that.
Yeah, if you want,
Okay,
come on out.
this
It'll be
Saturday.
good.
I'll double check, but I might be able to. That'd be really fun, and we can hang out in person.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Take care.